Hi, HR Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the HR Leaders Podcast, the show where we explore the future of work with industry experts and HR executives from the world's leading global brands. Today, we have a special guest on the show. We're joined by David Osborne, CEO at Virgin Pulse. Welcome to the show, David. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Nice to see someone in an office.
Yeah. No, our office has been open on a voluntary basis only. We're slowly getting people to trickle in, which is great.
Before we go any further, tell everyone a little bit more about yourself personally and your journey to where we are now, obviously leading the team at Virgin Pulse.
Yeah, originally from Toronto, Canada, fellow Commonwealth country, Chris. So
love Toronto. My family, we have a lot of family there, live in Pickering.
Yeah, Pickering. Yeah. I know it well. I came to the States on a golf scholarship, God, years ago, and really kind of never went back. And I've been in Atlanta since 2000. I've been in Atlanta forever, it seems. And Atlanta is one of those towns. There's really no place. There's no reason to leave, and there's no reason to stay. So you just kind of stay. It's one of those towns, But I've had a varied background in software. I've spent some time in private equity. I was working as an operating partner at a private equity firm called Insight Venture Partners based in New York. And they had acquired majority share of Virgin Pulse from the Virgin Group. And, as you know, Richard Branson started this company like 17 years ago. They asked me to jump in and help them integrate. We'd done a couple acquisitions and the team was great but minimal acquisition integration experience. And I had a bunch of it. So they said, just go and do that and then come back. And I joined Virgin Pulse. It was 5 years ago now. I got my 5th anniversary, April 11th. And I just loved the company. I loved the team. I loved the vision and what they were trying to accomplish. And I just kind of never went back.
So there was never an intention for you to stay when you first came in.
No, I was going to stay for like 8 months and then go back to the mothership, but no, I've been here ever since, and we've really kind of changed the direction of the company. And as you can imagine, I know we're going to talk about today, digital health and well-being is, kind of pretty important right now. So
yeah, what impact did COVID have in the business?
COVID, as a general rule, I think, as you can imagine, people are coming out of this now, but are going to continue to come out just kind of broken, increased stress and anxiety, people trying to balance homeschooling. I joke, you and I talked briefly that you're working from home, your daughter's running around the house. And
yeah.
You got the UPS or the FedEx guy ringing the doorbell.
That's true.
So there's that balance that's an additional stress. I think that people are just less healthy, more eating, more drinking, not moving around enough, more chronic conditions like diabetes, a delay in even going to the doctor for 6 or 8 months, and many conditions probably going, uncovered. So it's I think it's had a major effect on people across the gamut, even financial well-being, as you can imagine. So, at Virgin Pulse, we view well-being, everything well-being. It could be stress, it could be activity. To your point, 5 years ago, Virgin Pulse was more of an activity company.
Yes.
But now it's activity, sleep, nutrition, stress,
financial well-being, like you mentioned.
Yeah. All the things, right? So, COVID has played a pretty integral part in hurting people, and I think digital health and well-being is obviously more important now than ever.
Yeah. Because in the past, when I first started working with you in the team, in the previous organizations I worked in, this seemed to be like a nice to have. Like it was only for the super, the large organizations who had a ton of money. It was like a nice to have, and they could give to their employees. But now that's kind of flipped on its head, and I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it took a pandemic to get people to think that health and well-being is no longer a nice to have. It's more critical now than ever. But we are seeing a much bigger focus on it from the C-suite, actually. As a general rule, we generally interact with head of benefits, but I think the C-suite now is saying, how do we really focus on our employees, not just their health and well-being from an ROI standpoint, but also just from keeping them engaged and culturally interacted with the organization. And I think companies are now, if they're smart, they're using it as a hiring and retention tool. So So yeah, there are companies out there that probably still view it as a nice to have, but we're seeing now more and more companies take it a lot seriously.
No, 100%. How did you see that your customers fared during this versus companies that you now just started working with or that have kind of reached out?
Our customers really embraced the platform as much as they could, and we were very quick to react. We put guides in there about COVID-19 and what to do and how to do it, and a bunch of information. We created a product called VP Passport, which is really like kind of helping you get back to the office. It's like a self-testing, like temperature check. Have you been around anybody? Been contact traced? Yeah, and it gives you kind of essentially a red or a green flashlight to you're safe to go back to work or not. There's the San Francisco 49ers, the football team, uses it for all their players and their staff. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but yeah, our install base, our customers, really latched on to everything that we could provide them, and we were, as the first 3 or 4 months was more of a panic mode than anything else. So
yeah, I saw this strange kind of basically in the first, say, 4 or 5 months, nothing really happened while companies were figuring out what we're doing, what's happening, and all of a sudden, this huge surge of investment in this space. Did you see that same trend as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of things. We probably had our busiest kind of bookings quarter right when the pandemic started. Right, like I think March 31st was the biggest day we've ever had in kind of signing clients up to our platforms. I think they saw it coming. The smart ones saw it coming, and then the world's kind of shut down a little bit, right? Yeah. As you mentioned, it was a long kind of lull of trying to figure it out. And if I think about our own business right now, we're going to grow materially this year, and I say that under the guise of growth is good in this space because we're having more and more members on our platform and we're changing more lives for good. And that's really kind of our mission, if you will. So it's going to be a busy year. And I think we're investing a ton in innovation to keep giving, the industry what they need as they get out of this. So,
yeah. How do your customers measure ROI?
Yeah, they do it a couple of ways. We ingest claims data, as you can imagine.
So less claims.
Yeah,
because they're using
as we look at claims data, we can determine, are you spending less or more in medical and pharmaceutical costs as a member or as a cohort, if you will. So that's kind of the harder ROI, right? Just spending less. And the studies that we've done so far indicate that we're saving members that engage in the platform. We'll save about $1,000 per employee per year. That doesn't really seem like a lot, but if you have 10,000 employees, that's 10 million, or 1,000 employees.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, right? 10,000 employees is like $10 million or something. So, that's one component. But the other component, which I think is equally as important, is just we show data that members that use the platform versus people that don't, the attrition levels are far better with members that use the platform. The employee engagement scores are much higher. Absenteeism is much lower if you're using the platform versus not. And so that's, unfortunately, the industry views it as soft ROI, but I think it's actually quite important. And it translates to harder ROI, especially if it's still an employee market out there. It's really hard to hire people right now. And retain people. So, there's a couple different ways of how I also think of, how the buying cycle has changed when we measure ROI. And I think as we get into more, digital therapeutics and helping with gaps in care and health outcomes, we're going to see more and more, really kind of true return on investment and ideally in-year return on investment as well. So,
yeah. And I think the other one, which you mentioned briefly and earlier in the call, is like the attraction of talent. Obviously, it's quite hard to quantify that, but that's a huge benefit. And staying connected, because how do you stay connected now where work is no longer a place?
It's such a great concept, right? Like we've shown that we can be really productive not being in the office. But how do you establish great culture? How do you keep a great culture? How do you onboard new people and say, hey, welcome to the company. Oh, by the way, I'm meeting you through Zoom. It's hard. Yeah. And I think, having a health and well-being platform that people use all the time, that employers can use as a way to connect their employees is critical, and I think it's going to become even more and more important. So
yeah, hopefully we're on the other side of it now, because there's always some new variant popping up. But let's say we are on the other side. What role will well-being play in this new normal, do you think?
Yeah, so I think well-being will play a pretty interesting part of the new normal. I mean, we have to continue to meet employees where they are. There's going to be, a lot of people that even vaccinated are not going to want to come back to work. So, I think giving them access to the things that they need as they work from home, whether it's coaching, whether it's, mental health experts, balancing, just kind of caregiving challenges and homeschooling and all those things, I think are pretty important. And I think well-being is one of those areas that, specifically if you think about everything well-being, it's one of those areas that that are going to be at the forefront of what people are looking for. And even as we go into more, at home telemedicine, virtual care, at home screenings, like kind of understanding like your own biometrics and your own numbers and how healthy I am or not healthy I am. And people are going to go less out to get that, and they're going to do it more at home now. So I think we're going to move into that kind of area as well. So just well-being in general is going to play a significant role in the new normal, if you will.
I love tying this in as well, because you see like Samsung and Apple with the watches, and even within our mobiles now, we're tracking our sleep, we're tracking our steps, we're tracking everything. And I love integrating that with work, our work environment as well, and meshing that all together so you can have this kind of overall picture of your health and well-being, not just on your Apple Watch. We're already doing it in the consumer market, but we're so far behind in many cases in the workplace.
I agree. Yeah, no, it does. It does. And there's a significant cost, I think, to businesses who don't put this in the forefront of what they're trying to accomplish.
What do you think the impact will be then for companies that don't place well-being as a priority?
Less productivity in the workforce, so less productive people, less engaged, medical costs increasing, more sick days, increase in mental health issues, the culture impacts. I think, how do you think about culture in the organization? A big attrition, I think, is going to be a big one, right? How do you find, attract, and keep great talent? It's I tell you, it's going to be it's a differentiator if employees are thinking about my employer actually cares about me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those scenarios where we've kind of leveled the playing field on hiring, right? 100%. So if you think about Palo Alto and the West Coast, a year ago, they couldn't call, a person or an engineer sitting, at their beach house, in South Carolina and say, hey, come work for us. Cause like, I'm not going to move out there. Right. But now they can say, oh, I can do my job from here, probably make more money. Cause Palo Alto, as pays a lot more.
Costs a fortune to live there.
and everybody kind of wins. They're paying less and not renting space, and they're making more. So we've leveled the playing field on really hiring and retaining talent. So now what do? You really focus on other things like employee well-being and meeting people where they are and giving them all the access to the tools that they need. If you think about our platform, very personalized, which you might be focused on could be like sleep and nutrition, and I might be focused on stress and activity, and the platform offers up content, programs, coaching abilities, and so forth for things that I need to focus on that day. So
yeah. And also I think importantly, and I think this is the value many of the leaders I speak to are starting to realize, now they have the data to drive their decisions by looking at the activity, and you have the data insights. They can see, okay, there's a huge increase in people consuming mental health and well-being content because it's the winter right now. And no one can get
this massive cohort in our business is actually sleeping 3 hours less than they used to. Right? So let's offer up content and programs to help them sleep better. And we collect 12.5 billion data points a month through wearable data or biometrics and screening or claims ingestion, et cetera. So we're really able to run that through machine learning and artificial intelligence and really personalize the platform and feed it back to people and really kind of meet them where they need.
Yeah. What differentiates what you're doing at Virgin Pulse from all these other companies that I see every day that are emerging out there?
There's a lot of great point solutions. Don't get me wrong, and we're partners with most of them actually.
I noticed.
What differentiates us is it's a platform that has everything health and well-being, and people come back and use it on a daily basis. And we use a Dow Mao metric, not dissimilar than that Facebook uses. So of our monthly active users, we get about 60% of them come back to the platform every single day, which is unheard of.
Wow.
Point solutions that you're suggesting that pop up. And so Facebook wins that race as a B2C company. Underneath Facebook is Virgin Pulse as a B2B company. And then, Instagram and LinkedIn and all those other ones. But that is a massive differentiator for us, which I think is exciting. And putting everything on a platform that is health and well-being, plus benefit navigation, care guidance, navigating the complexity of the healthcare system, chronic condition management, live coaches, so that the high tech and high touch component all in one spot. Very few people do that. The point solutions that you were referencing, they can be great, but they have to chase people. Right. And they have a high impact when they get them, but their usage is like 5%, whereas we're like 60. And we try and attack everybody in your population, not just the sick, not just the healthy, not just the marathon runners. So it's preventive care to, you're in a situation to reversal. Right. So those are the kind of the main ones, the usage and the fact that we have everything incorporated in the platform, not just one component. And then I think the third one probably worth mentioning is we're the only global player out there. We have 20 languages that are supported in the product right now. So
yeah, when you've been sitting down with your leadership team over the past year, what are the areas that you've identified where you feel that you can have the most impact?
Yeah, I think continuing on with our vision of what we call home base for health and really getting everything onto one platform. That is where we're striving. We're going really fast there. And that will be inclusive, as I mentioned, as the kind of the virtual care or the at-home care, telemedicine, and that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of the sport of the future, right? Mm-hmm. So we're pushing pretty hard to finish out that vision of home base for health.
Yeah.
And then I think being cognizant of, our clients, because there's so many point solutions that you referenced, most of our clients just don't have the procurement bandwidth to try and bring all these in. So we created what we call VP Plus, which is really a bundling concept of, hey, take 5 of your favorite, 5 of your point solutions in one bundle, already fully integrated on our platform, and roll that out to them. So,
right, okay,
just going directly each one, right? So we've become a distribution chain for these point solutions, and they win because they're distributed a lot further along. The client wins because they're spending a lot less money on the bundle versus trying to buy each one of them, and then we win just because it allows us to really just, reach out and touch way more members the way we need to. So
have you ever thought about like streaming content like through your LinkedIn? This is really random, but I was just thinking about it before I was speaking to you. It'd be pretty cool to stream some content live from the Virgin Pulse page to help people and business professionals on LinkedIn.
That's an interesting idea. Like we've thought about how do we're B2B, as you know.
Yeah, so that's why I was thinking LinkedIn.
We've often thought about how do you go to B2C. That's definitely one way. I think another way is, we have some major universities as clients, and they use it for their faculty and staff. Okay. Why wouldn't they roll it out to their students? What a great idea that is. And, students can, especially as a young student, first time in university, trying to stay connected to your family and friends is a great component. If you're a Virgin Pulse member, we allow you to connect to, I think, 10 family and friends members.
Yeah, that's what happened with my wife. So she used our platform and she could benefit from that, which I didn't even think about at the time, which is a huge benefit to people. Yeah,
they're, your family and your friends are I get your colleagues at work or a support structure as well, but family and friends are a big part of that. So
how did it impact with your physical partners, the location, like the gyms and other places like that? Because obviously they're not open right now, and is there a plan of how to reintegrate them into the? Obviously, I say reintegrate, not like you let them go.
Yeah, most of them are trying to very quickly go to, okay, how do we do this at home? Right.
So they're also just all switching, really. Okay.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out how to do it at home, and gyms are slowly starting to open up. But I think again, that world will change pretty significantly. If they can figure out how to work out at home, like the mirror, I don't know if you've used that, but that's just at home. The Peloton bike, like all these things now are coming fast and furious to work out at home versus go to gyms.
Have you seen any trends, or have you got any data around people taking up fitness, like getting more healthy? Like, has this been a wake up call for people to realize I need to take care of myself?
I haven't seen a ton of data that points to that. I can tell you that if I think about our clients, they're rolling out. We've added tremendous amount of new populations in a client, for example, and they were very quick to roll it out. So often we'll have clients that say, "Oh, this is just for the Americas population." And as this pandemic started to happen, they said, "Oh, we need to roll this out to our international population as well." And so it's like this land and expand concept. I was originally thinking that people would use the platform less, but our usage and engagement has been sustained at a fairly high level all the way through this pandemic. So it didn't spike, it didn't drop. So I don't know. I don't have an exact answer to your question other than the lives. We had 13 million lives before the pandemic. We have 50 million members on the platform now. So that might alone just kind of trigger that there are more people trying to get healthier. What
do you think moving forward? Do you think that this is going to continue now, and our companies had this wake up call post pandemic?
No, I think I think the first and foremost is we have to fix the people that are kind of come out of this broken. Again, a ton of like diabetes or hypertension or things that just went untreated for so long, depression, anxiety, financial wellness. Like we have to fix all that. And I think that's going to take some time, sadly. But I also think that, as we discussed earlier, digital health and well-being has got way more focus now than ever. And I think people are starting to realize this is important. And I think it's here. It'll be here to stay. I don't think we morph back to any levels that we were before. I think people will start to take it seriously. And I think in the back of our minds, we're always going to be worried about the next one, candidly.
Yeah, you're right. There's almost going to be like this PTSD, right? It
might be, yeah.
We're not seeing it now, but I think we will see it. The impacts of it. We were all suffering.
Yeah.
But no one was talking about it.
Yeah, and I would tell you, if you were pre-diabetic before the pandemic, I promise you, as you walked into the pandemic, you didn't get better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think to your point, there's a lot of unhealthy people in the world, and not just from obesity or pre-diabetic or there's all the things, all the comorbidities that are around, and right down to stress and anxiety, and it's a real thing. And I think as we discussed earlier, the pandemic has shone a light on just how broken we were even pre-pandemic. And I think we're gonna be pretty cautious as to how we take care of ourselves going forward.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I want to jump into our quick fire round. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and you have no longer than 30 seconds to give us some amazing answers. Are you ready?
Okay. All right. I wasn't prepped on this one. I love it. Let's go.
No one's prepped on this. I don't tell anyone. All 300 episodes, no one knows.
I'm going to ask you a question then.
Yeah, go for it. What was the number one thing that was holding you back from becoming a CEO?
I think the number one thing that was holding me back was just opportunity. It's hard to get that chance. And they always go, "You're a first-time CEO. You're a first-time CEO." But everybody's a first-time CEO at one point.
That's true.
So I think I just the number one thing was just the right place at the right time.
It's a great point there. Everyone's a first-time CEO. Yeah. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
I think from my perspective, and I've said this to others, as a CEO, the best advice I can give to people that are even climbing up into an organization, whether you're VP, SVP, CEO, fill in the blank, don't do the things you want to do the things you need to do. Right? Like, so for example, and I love doing this, but I could say I hate doing these podcasts, but I have to do it because I'm the CEO, but I actually enjoy this. So, but I've always said, you can't just create your own job and do the things you want to do as a leader. You have to do the things that need to get done. What
are some books you'd recommend to our audience? Well, it doesn't have to be HR related, obviously. Any books that kind of stand out to you that have made an impact?
Man, I mean, I read a lot. You know, I'm really focused. I read Lencioni, so the 5 dysfunctions of a team is a big one, and the advantage and the ideal team player. And I steal little snippets from there. We hire in our organization now, Hungry, Humble, Smart. I'm starting to read more like literature and get smarter on the patriarchy and you know, we're all kind of victims of the patriarchy, and I'm trying to understand that more. So yeah, I'm throwing a pretty wide net right now of what I'm reading. So it's a combination of good literature as well as good business books.
Yeah. Does that change depending on where the business is and where you are personally? Like, do you change? Do you or are you always kind of keeping it broad? Like, just out of interest, do you like specifically?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, if I think about the world that we're starting to live in, it's changed. I used to only read business books, business. And I've now in the last year and a half, have really broadened my horizons on reading other things that are important, things about, you know, diversity, equity, inclusion. And like I said, you know, feminist literature. You can learn a lot from just expanding your horizons and just reading other things. So
yeah. Sometimes I even listen to podcasts and read books that were on subjects I completely disagree with.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I do podcasts. I read books. I'm kind of old school. I still read the Wall Street Journal. Like, I actually get it delivered, honestly, and I'm like walking around reading my paper.
Yeah.
My partner Amy says I got my old man glasses for a reason. I actually read.
Like, oh, you got your reading glasses.
Yeah. Those are old man glasses. But I think, and there's another thing. I don't. Have you seen the app Blink? Like, you can just it's like a like the aggregates. So, yeah. Like, it's like the Cliff Note version. So if there's a topic that I want to just kind of get brought up on really quickly, I'll even go there. So so yeah, I'm reading all over the place.
It's like a book version of TED Talks. It's like a quick,
exactly.
It gives you what you want straight away, what you need without a fluff. How would your friends and family, kids describe what you had? If you had to say, this is what Dad does for a living.
Oh my God, yeah. My 14-year-old would say my dad goes to the office and just hires a bunch of people and you know, and they play on this app. Is what she'd probably say. But I think no, I think they would say that. They'd immediately go to, oh, he works for a company that Richard Branson started, because he's like the famous billionaire that everybody knows and loves. And then they would probably get it pretty close. Like they'd say, you know, he's in the health and well-being business, and his role is to try and get the world healthier.
Great.
They'd probably say they you know, which is close.
Last thing, you know, before I let you go, what's one thing about your business moving forward that you're most excited about?
You know, I talk a little bit about the taxi cab industry is arguably a broken industry, right? It's not fixable. And if you've ever tried to get a taxi in New York City at 5 o'clock on that shift change, forget it, right? And companies like Lyft and Uber and others innovated around it. They didn't fix the taxi cab industry. They innovated around it. So what's most exciting to me is I equate that to also the healthcare industry, specifically in the United States, is broken and probably not fixable. So our job and what we're trying to do is innovate around it to make it easier for people to just navigate the complexity of the healthcare industry while getting healthier and you know, and getting better in their health journey. So and as we continue to do that, that's what gets me real excited in the morning. And then I think as we go into, you know, more kind of virtual care, at-home care, telemedicine, and being able to put that on our platform as well, just offering up more things for members to use and to get them in a better place. That's probably the most exciting.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad we made it happen. As well. We'll hopefully get to say hello in person soon in the near future as well.
Where are you based?
I'm in Greenwich, in London.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so we
have an office in Leeds, so I come over.
Not too far away. Got a lot of friends who live there, so we'll say hello soon. But until then, keep up the amazing work. Obviously, you know, you're literally changing people's lives. So obviously, congrats to you and the team and all the hard work. And I'll see you again soon. All right.
Thanks, Chris. Sounds great.
Thanks.